more women are infertile that are ultra skinny than are obese. And so obesity itself is not the common cause for infertility, but having too little fat on your body is. It may be as simple as adding more animal fat.
Will eating fat cause a person to gain fat?
Rare to raw fatty meat is the healthiest thing to eat. If you're finding your physical body isn't quite as energetic as it used to be, your mental clarity isn't as great, or you're noticing some other physical ailments, look at faith, fat, fasting for a fertile life.
Before we jump in, I just want to say thank you for being here and spending a little of your time with us today. If this podcast brings you value, helps you see things differently, or makes you feel a little bit less alone in your journey, it would mean so much if you took a moment to like, comment, or subscribe. Those small actions truly help this show reach more people who need these conversations, and they allow me to keep bringing on thoughtful, inspiring guests for you. All right, let's get into today's episode. Is it true you were just in surgery?
I was just doing surgery from about 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And then I came home in order to sit with you.
Wow. You're still you're still an OBGYN, correct?
I'm an OBGYN
Mhm.
and a reproductive endocrinologist and fertility specialist. So help people that cannot conceive naturally, normally, or those that have miscarriages, or they have other congenital anomalies related to their reproductive organs. I do treat some endometriosis. I'm a surgeon, and a large part of what I do is in vitro fertilization, IVF.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I've had a surgery done before, but I think I'd rather actually let's just dive into it so then I can talk to you about it in
Yeah,
the
hit the record button, by the
Yeah,
if you haven't already,
we're
yeah,
recording, so we'll just
yeah,
keep
good,
going.
good.
Dr. Kiltz, before we talk about the carnivore diet, I want to zoom out. What do you see as the real root cause behind so much unexplained infertility?
So, it's all inflammation, and the root cause are roots.
Mm.
Basically, plants are the leading cause to me of the majority of diseases we all suffer from. And infertility is just another list of diseases that we're suffering from. And actually, it's the most important one that we're not focusing on understanding. It's we're born for one reason, reproduction. We're born to build families, have children. And that is happening less and less and less. And I believe we've been given this idea that you could just wait and it'll be fine and have your children in your 30s and 40s, but then you're realizing something's happened and it's not working naturally or normally. And I believe that inflammation is caused by plant sugars, plant chemicals, including plant estrogens, androgens, progestins. And think about heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, and caffeine. They're all plant chemicals. And then they have the antigens, mostly from plants, which include lectins, oxalates, phytates, latex. These are all substances that cause an inflammatory reaction when you breathe, drink, or eat them, or put them on your skin. And we have to always consider the microbes that also come along with the plants, and they are directly inflammatory, but indirectly they consume the food we eat, mostly plants and protein, and that makes they're fermentable. So the food we eat is fermented by the bacteria and yeast, and they make alcohol, aldehydes, heat, gas, and methane. And all of this is happening in the colon mostly. The colon sits right next to our reproductive organs, prostate, testicles, and then the women's uterus, tubes, and ovaries. And all of this fermentation of microbial overgrowth, secondary to the plants we're eating, are causing pelvic inflammation, endometriosis, endometritis, salpingitis, vaginitis, cystitis, bladder infections, cervicitis, cervical infections, and then damage to the fallopian tubes and the ovaries and the pelvis, which cause every disease we're suffering from. So ultimately, it's really simply a plant protein, low animal fat diet and thinking that the microbes in your gut are good for you when in fact they're not. That's the overview. That's the 10,000 view.
If someone is having issues with fertility or with conceiving, will they be successful? Do you believe that they'll be successful if they stop eating plants? And also, you mentioned other ways that plants enter our bodies through things that we put on it and I mean drugs, but let's assume that drugs aren't involved in the woman's life, then your first piece of advice would be to cut out eating plants, correct?
Well, it may be as simple as adding more animal fat, cooking the plants well to simplify them and remove the fiber and kill the microbes that are all over the plants, and eating less frequently, fat and fasting. And so the problem is we're eating 3 to 6 meals a day or we're grazing all day and we're thinking that, well, it's important to eat all the time. But historically, we ate from time to time. Imagine yourself walking down the street, grabbing the grass or the plants or picking up some seeds and nuts from the plants that are there and eating them. They're mostly toxic. They're not edible. They're highly poisonous. And now we have developed the ability to eat plants through particular development of the right species, the least toxic, and then either cooking them, grinding them, fermenting them, soaking them, which makes them less toxic. The majority of plants in the world are not edible. A small percentage are edible. And, prehistory, we don't really know what our lifestyle was, but if it was a plant-based diet back 50,000, 100,000 years ago, that means you should be able to eat a plant-based diet today. But think about it. What other animal cooks their food? None. So which food would you eat if it were raw that would be the least toxic, the most digestible, and the most nutrient dense? It's going to be animal products, not plant products. Mm-hmm. The beauty is we've processed plants in such a way that we've made them more digestible, less toxic in an immediate way. But the majority of us still can tolerate many of these plant foods and live a reasonable amount of time. The big question comes, why do some people get diseases and other people don't? Why are some people allergic to peanuts and other people are not? But what if arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, infertility, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, endometritis were reactions to antigens like plants, almost like poison ivy? If you ate poison ivy, would it damage the inside of your mouth and your esophagus and your stomach?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you rub poison ivy on your skin, would it cause redness, swelling, itching, pain, and ultimately dysfunction of that part of your body? Now, if you were exposed to these, if to poison ivy every single day in, day out, could it ultimately kill you? It probably could. So I'm wondering if the constant exposure to low inflammatory products ultimately leads to many of the diseases we have in the demise. I mean, there's children get cancers. Why did one child get it and other people don't? I don't know that answer. It's like, why do some people smoke cigarettes, get lung cancer, and other people don't? Don't know that answer. Why did my embryo become a life form and another embryo doesn't make it or miscarries? I mean, that's the mystery to the real puzzle. It's it's there's a little bit of chaos. Maybe that's the wrong word, chaos. Nature evolves on mistakes. That's just the nature to making anything, right? Do you ever make a recipe and you followed the recipe, but it didn't work? And then you did it again and again and again until you got it right. I mean, you followed the recipe, but something wasn't wrong, right, and it didn't come out right. But there's more to it. There's the temperature. There's the humidity. There's other particles in the air we breathe, and the things we drink and the things we eat that are microscopic. Could you see a virus, a bacteria, a yeast easily? Can you see the COVID virus, the flu virus, the common cold virus?
No.
Can't. Are they in the air?
Yes.
Are they everywhere?
Good
Yeah.
question. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there must be everywhere. I mean, there are 6 times 10 to the 6th humans in the world. There are 6 times 10 to the 30th microbes in the world. And you and I can't see them, can we? But we see the death and destruction that happens from them, don't we? So when we attempt to explain things in a macroscopic world, and every time a new car is made, there are lemons that come off the the production line, right?
Mm.
Same thing that happens to the cellular manufacturing. There are errors, and it's either the molecular structure of the thing is wrong, or it's the building of it was wrong, and we have to think it in a very simplistic way. And in general, if you're consuming a lot of foods that are very antigenic, and antigenic means we create a lot of inflammation to something that gets in or on our body. Like if you're allergic to peanuts, or my daughter's allergic to bananas and avocados. Do you have any allergies that you know about?
Well, it's a very long-winded answer if it's going to be accurate. But yes, I did have some, and now I'm experimenting adding different things back in. But yes, right now eggs and dairy I've eliminated for years, which is unfortunate. I know that's big in the carnivore diet, but I am looking forward to at some point being able to add those back in.
Well, if you think about it, um, when was milk consumed by a mammal? Or when is it meant to be consumed by a mammal?
When we're born,
Or we're born. Does the mother's milk reflect what they breathe, drink, and eat?
yes.
Yes. And so we have to think about that. And eggs. Okay. We were hunters and foragers. And did we eat eggs sometimes? Probably so. How easy is any animal going to be to give up their eggs? Not easy. They're going to fight you for them. And but once we began agriculture and animal husbandry, and we began to domesticate the animals, our lives and world changed. And and some people are more reactive to these things than others for reasons okay, the persistence, lactose, lactate persistence, right? And can you consume lactose and break it down, or you can't? There's some people that can and some people that can't. And raw, see, we don't have a lot of raw butter, raw milk products available. And raw is probably better than cooked. And it may be once you cook something or you pasteurize it, you damage the molecular structure. And so your body identifies it differently than if it was in its native state, unprocessed, unpasteurized, in the raw state. And so I think if you look at Pottinger's cats, where Pottinger did a study on on cats that were fed either raw milk or meat or pasteurized milk or cooked meat, the animals and their subsequent generations were unhealthy on cooked meat and pasteurized milk because heating changes the molecular structure. It denatures the glycoprotein layer. Your body sees something as foreign and it reacts to try to get rid of it. And I know my daughter who recently had a baby and breastfeeds, and when she eats something that is plant based, and also when it comes to milk products that are, and now she hasn't tried raw, she has reactions, and then the baby has reactions because we're living in a box, we're eating food from a box, and basically we're having reactions that are saying this is not natural or normal to the human evolution.
Mm. Yeah, I do want to share more about the eggs and dairy for me as far as that goes, but I want to put a pin in it really fast and go back to something else that you mentioned earlier on about cooking vegetables until you remove all the fiber. And on behalf of everybody who is going to want to ask this question, don't we need fiber to digest food? Don't we need fiber to be regular as far as using the restroom?
Well, using the restroom is based on the amount and type of food you eat and the frequency. If you eat meat, there's really little to no fiber in it, although proteins are fermentable, but fat is not. And so I that eats a carnivore diet mostly has a bowel movement maybe once or twice a week, sometimes a little bit more, and sometimes even less than that. And when I eliminated plants and fiber, my bowel bleeding and hemorrhoids went away. And if you look at Paul Mason's work and others that have really shown that fiber makes our bowel gut pain worse and bleeding worse, it really isn't required. It's another manufacturing ploy through messaging and marketing to utilize a product that's a byproduct of the milling or the processing of other plants to utilize this fibrous content that could be used to make more money out of humans. And if an authoritative entity, the government, the medical institutions, or nutritionists that sound like they know what they're doing, they've done all the experiments, are actually working in a science that isn't true. Maybe it's all made up, conspiracy, or maybe they said, wow, we've got to have a bowel movement every day. And that's real important. And you should use fiber because it cleans the bowels. Like takes, I always say, and think about taking a scrub brush and scrubbing your bowels, right?
Mm.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, I've heard that as with lettuce, like it acts as a broom and sweeps things away out of the intestines.
Well, what if so think about it. Is food in your intestines 24/7, 365, pretty much the day you're born to the day you die?
Is there food in there? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
for most people, I would say.
Well, 99% of people eat at least 3 meals a day.
Hmm.
Some do six. So that means the tube between what you put in and what you put out always has contents in it. Okay. So that means the bowels are always digesting. So that means there's always material in the gut that is having contact with the epithelium, which may be immunologic or inflammatory producing, but it's also damaging. So if you took a scrub brush and just lightly scrubbed your skin every day, the day you're born to the day you die, what would happen?
Get pretty raw.
It would be raw and red and
Mm.
swollen, inflamed, infected, and you'd basically wear it down, right? It's like could you take sandpaper, take a really fine sandpaper to a piece of wood? How long would it take for you to eventually go all the way through the wood? Well, the human skin is a very, very sensitive organism. And the more you add things to the gut, the skin, the more inflammation you have, which is simply a product of friction, right? Friction causes heat, damage, right? And
Mhm.
so if you took a heating pad, let's just say you took a heating pad that's or a hot tub, 104 degrees, and you sat in there for 20 hours, could that burn your skin? It
Yeah.
can, right?
Hmm.
And so we have to realize that we've developed a lot of ideas that have been marketed to us to make sense. We've heard it so much, it becomes truth. Cognizant dissonance. Something they tell us is true, but ultimately something opposite is true. And that's what we're all trained on. Uh, a I'm going to call it a lie, but but they've someone has shared the message for so long we think it's true. And so fiber is one of those things. Fiber is so good for you. The word healthy diet, where did it come from? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, did we ever go hunting and we say, well, we got to wait for dinner time or we got to wait for breakfast time? I mean, you found food. Did you like wait to eat it or did you hunt, kill, and eat?
Right. And then you eat till you're full and then you stop.
Well, either you're full or someone else has taken your food or it's been ruined by something or another. But ultimately, the only place for your food is in your belly because because refrigerators and cupboards and hidden. I mean, many animals store their food and try to hide it, but they have to fend for their food and fight for it from other animals that want it. We're just in a modern world where there is food insecurity. So does our modern brain understand that food insecurity is the nature of our brain's belief? Does your ancient brain see the food in front of you and knowingly acknowledge there's plenty of food after this? I know it, there's no problem. Or does your brain say, fool, you better eat this because if you don't, you're in trouble? You think about the bacteria, the yeast and viruses that are constantly, it's a nonstop foraging for their food, contaminating your food, and and ultimately making it either unedible for you, which basically makes it edible for them. And so, it's a radical concept and idea that we're talking about. But your brain being skinny is not biologically uh, makes sense. And but over access of food is our biggest problem. And then our brain says, I need 3 meals a day and snacks in between, and I need to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And we label them with the word healthy. And so they've managed to market us to misery.
Mhm. There's a few things that you talk about that are controversial, probably more than a few, but one of them is you talk about not heating the body. You don't want to warm
Right.
up the body too much. So then I think about you look at other, quote unquote health experts who talk about the benefits of sauna and things like that. So I wanted to hear your take on saunas and not heating up the body versus heating it up.
We're ultimately selling something. Life is transactional. Money matters. And so does the concept of selling something possibly disrupt our really understanding of the truth of the science we do? I believe something so much, well, because I need to make money in order to thrive and survive. And so saunas and red light therapy and hot tubs and heating methods are really good for us. But where's the prospective randomized double blind placebo controlled study? Don't have it. Now, I enjoy my hot tub and my cold plunge. I enjoy the sauna sometimes, not as much. I like the hot tub better. We love sitting out in the beautiful warm sun. And so it's a hard one to sort of to absolutely give us the right answer, but how do you denature DNA? You heat it up, right? And so what's the proper temperature? Where should we live? I don't know that right real answer, but um, is exercise good for us?
That's another one I wanted to ask you about because you say not to over exercise, and I wonder what that actually means.
Well, what is exercise? Okay, so no animal exercises. No animal purposely goes out to move in order to build their muscles, lose weight, or be healthier. They're just practicing the normal animal instinctual drive, and they're searching for food, shelter, reproduction. It's all it is, right? And so, what are we doing? We're 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 telling everyone that exercise is good. Now, you own a Ferrari, and you're going to have your friend take it to the racetrack 3 times a week, put more miles on it, and it's going to last longer than the Ferrari your friend has. They use it to go to the market and go to nice drives in the country, time to time. Heat, friction, use causes more damage. Now, we're not hunting and gathering of any significance, are we? We're
No.
going to the markets or ordering online, but we are getting damaged and diseased. And I say that exercise is another contributing factor to disease. But everything is a fine line. There's a range in that. So
Mhm.
if you just stayed home all the time, all alone, would that ultimately accomplish the life force? No. You need to get up and out. You got to move. You got to hang out with other people, work in the tribe. But the message was, hey, you have to do this amount of exercise. You have to lift weights, you got to run, you got to walk, but we really my parents never did that. They lived to 94. My grandmother 104. Are there a lot of injuries to athleticism? Lots. And everyone's taking some potion to make them faster, stronger, and live longer. And if not, at least look better. But these are all merchandising and 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 it's all a story to manipulate us, in my opinion. I do a little walking. I do some light weights. I do 100 push-ups. I like to keep my muscles strong. I get on the floor. I roll around. I do a little bit of yoga. And I want to be able to get on the floor and get up. I want to be able to do a few pull-ups, do some push-ups. I do mostly with my body. I do some light weights. I don't do anything heavy. Do I have a little extra around my center? Sure, I do. You could pinch a few inches. Do I care? I don't. I feel good. I mean, ultimately, fat on your body is the most important organ system of our body. Wow, wait a minute. Fat is important. I mean, is anorexia, cachexia, sarcopenia, are those healthy states for a human? You know what a skinny person without any fat looks like. It's not good. Now, is morbid, extreme obesity good for us? Of course not. You can't walk, you cannot get up, you can't hunt, you can't gather. Now, but what is too heavy? I don't know that answer. It depends on the strength you have, the size you are, and what your mission is. If you're a sumo wrestler, a skinny person doesn't work as well, does it? But ultimately, reproductively, is it better to have no hips, no butt, no breasts, and no fat? Or is it better to have enough fat that says, I'm a good fertile potential, and when I get pregnant, because if was a very rare event, by the way. Our ifs you get pregnant today are so common. We don't know who's infertile, but historically, you're having sex at somewhere in your early teens to early 20s. I mean, there's no woman in our ancient past that was in her 20s or 30s meeting her potential mate for the first time. It's not why we're here for our future money or status. It's for reproduction. And fat is the fuel for your body, the building blocks, and the fuel and building blocks for your baby. If you're pregnant, it was a common event, fat is critical. And more women are infertile that are ultra skinny than are obese. And so obesity itself is not the common cause for infertility, but having too little fat on your body is. And so I always, again, I think that we're doing all the work to be skinny. And the more work we do to be skinny, we're getting fatter and more diseased. And now we've got all this dissections and drugs and diets that aren't working. And so many women are spending so much money on all these drugs and dissections, and men too, by the way, as a fix for the problem that's been caused by our lifestyles. And most of that is related to our diet. And we started here and talking about exercise. Go for a walk, build something, create something, be productive. Running and running and running and running. At the end of the day, you didn't produce anything. You got a medal for running a lot. Okay, great. But did you connect with others in the community? Did you help and build products and help people learn how to feed themselves or be stronger in mindset? These are the reasons we're all here. It's to be productive, but giving points for like I'm the strongest person in the world, I ran the furthest and things like that. Ultimately, that's not what brought us to success in this world.
Will eating fat cause a person to gain fat?
Well, I guess that depends. So, polar bears eat ring seals. They only seek fatty meat. They actually eat what we call the blubber, which is the fat cap all over the body. Because fat contains every mineral, vitamin, amino acid, simple sugar, and fatty acid, and all the building blocks and the fuel for you. That's what we're really meant to eat. But yes, eating fat can get you fat, but it also gets you satiated, clears the mind of all the heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, and all the opiate like substances which are in plants. So now you have a clear mind. You could know that, wait a minute, I'm a lioness, I'm a lion, I'm not a pig, cow, or sheep. I'm not meant to be a domesticated animal. I'm meant to be a wild animal. I'm meant to care for my husband or wife, my partner. I'm here to care for my community, my children. And now you're not running around looking for alcohol and tobacco and over caffeine, any caffeine technically, or, heroin, marijuana, or any of these things, which are ultimately, once again, driven by a marketing campaign of those that want to merchandise us to death. Is marijuana good for you? Of course not. Is alcohol? No. Even caffeine is not necessarily good for you, but neither is flying an airplane, driving a car, riding a bike, or walking across the street. But we do those things, or living with another human being. These are all parts of life. And ultimately, fat, adipose tissue on your body and eaten is anti-inflammatory, fuel and building blocks for your body, and it doesn't contain any toxins. And being fat is the universe recognizing through your brain that food insecurity is the most common problems that humans have had to deal with. Could another infective reaction happen to humanity where suddenly we're sick, dying, and our food system has been broken down? Of course. And so, is it in your benefit to be fat or skinny if there's a famine? Fat. How about, is it to your benefit if you're pregnant and you have nausea and vomiting and you can't eat, or you have to migrate 100 miles? Is it better to be fat or skinny?
Fat.
If you look at many triathlons and races, are there plenty of overweight people participating? Yes,
There is? That's a
there
good
are.
question. Okay.
There are plenty of overweight people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I didn't say morbid obesity, meaning there are many people the doctor said, oh, your BMI is too high, you should lose weight. Okay. So, well, wait a minute. They're fat and they should be unable to run or walk. But in fact, there are plenty of people that are just walking around in life fat, aren't there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we probably didn't have access to that amount of food 50,000 years ago, did we?
No.
Easily, right? But we do today because the brain says there's no food tomorrow or next week because there's a viral outbreak happening. There's the microbes you're eating, or there's going to be a hurricane or a tornado, earthquake, fires, or there's going to be a massive tsunami.
Mhm.
That's human evolution.
I also wonder if there's something so deeply ingrained in our brains that even when we go to the grocery store just to get food, because it's so readily available and it's there, especially if we're hungry, then we instinctively feel like we need to buy more than we actually need.
Even if you're not hungry,
Mhm.
you've just eaten. Let's stop at the market. Let's fill up our cart. Oh, let's get a little of this. Oh, let's get big things. All right. All these large box stores that have massive amounts of products to buy. Our brain, even though our credit card says you can't afford this, you're still spending the money on it, right? Because you want to gather enough food to feed your family for survival. And your brain is like, oh wow, let's get more of this stuff, right?
Mm.
Because so many people just go to the store. Well, we'll go to the store every day. I mean, refrigerators and cupboards did not exist for the most of our existence, right? And yeah, our brains. So every time is it, well, you push yourself away from the table, or don't drink alcohol, or don't use marijuana, heroin, cocaine, caffeine. Well, those are not easy things to give up because the brain will overcome your ability to say no. I mean, is it easy for a man or woman to say no to having a sexual relationship? I mean, ultimately, what's our single drive in the world? It's
Reproduce.
reproduction,
Yeah.
right? And when you're hanging out, especially if you're maybe having a little bit of a drink or something, but even without that, our drive is it's hard to turn it off. And is it supposed to be easy to walk away from food or reproductive opportunities? It's not. And when you're carnivore, when you're the lioness and the lion, you recognize the power that you have in making those decisions. I mean, I went 2.5 years no coffee. I almost rarely drink any alcohol. I have small sips from rare times to time. I could be off of it. I'm back on a little coffee. I typically eat one meal a day. I occasionally have a little bit of ice cream I make and a little bit of chocolate, but not all the time. And I do a 3-day fasting every month and a 5-day quarterly. It's easy because I say it's easy. And as you think, so shall it be. And that's why the 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 word game is more powerful than anything. What you think and say is through what you put into your mind. It's more powerful than what you put in your mouth.
Hmm. Yes, couldn't agree more. I want to close the loop on the eggs and dairy
Mm.
as far as my diet because I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this. I stopped eating both things about 6 years ago when my skin broke out in very bad acne, cystic acne, eczema, very bad skin issues. So I eliminated all kinds of things. And dairy and eggs were one of the first to go because I learned that they feed pathogens in the body, that the pathogens feed off of those foods, as well as gluten and processed foods, things like that. So I stripped everything away. And at one point, I actually went with the belief that you shared about food being the most nutrient dense and the best for us when it's raw. Only I didn't find carnivore, I found raw veganism.
Mm.
So I went that route. And I am not there any longer, thank the Lord. But I do still have this thing as far as eggs and dairy. And I'm wondering, have you come across other people who eliminated that because of their skin and that's what helped?
Yes. Well, so once again, dairy is for babies drinking species specific milk from the breast of their mother. What does it do to a baby? Well, it helps them get fat. Why would you want a baby fat? Because in human evolution, whether it's through diseases or famine, or loss of their mother for enough time until that baby can find another breast to suckle, was quite common. And so, but then once they're done, once they're capable of not needing their mother in for that, they're beginning to consume other foods, and which I go back to our ancient evolution. It was meat. It's the least antigenic. Raw fatty meat is the least antigenic. Milk tends to be more antigenic. Eggs are an interesting one. So we feed the chickens a lot of products that were not natural to the chicken's diet. And did we evolve eating mostly chicken eggs, or did we evolve mostly eating animal meat? Think about all the, the bird eggs that are just out in nature. Are there a lot for you and I to eat a lot? No,
No.
no. And so the same thing with milk products and egg products. And I would say that Rare to raw fatty meat is the healthiest thing to eat. Eggs can be more antigenic because of what they eat, and also depending on the component of the egg. So which is it, chicken eggs? Is it goose eggs? Is it ostrich eggs and things like that? You may find some different eggs that are less antigenic and or inflammatory. And it may have something a little bit how we cook the eggs. We denature them. How many raw eggs do you eat?
Raw eggs? Well, I see some people eating raw eggs.
So once again, when you cook them, you change the molecular structure. I think those are less healthy for humans, just like raw milk, raw meat is healthier for the cats. It probably is the same for humans. Now, we eat cooked food all the time, and a lot of people, the average age I think is in the early 70s or later 70s, but some people live into the 80s, 90s, and 100s, right? And some people die earlier. The right diet, we don't really know that answer in the sense of, is it, let's just say everyone had the same lifestyle and they either did or didn't drink the same amount of alcohol, or nobody drank alcohol, and sort of our mindset, our houses and things like that, we were all cookie cutter the same, maybe we could figure out the cause. But we can't. Mm-hmm. But you're here and I'm here because our parents were able to reproduce, and you and I have gotten to reproductive ages. Do you have children yet?
No.
Not yet. But ultimately, I have one child who has one child. And ultimately, reproduction became her most important part of life, finding the man or having a baby without the man. Okay? And so ultimately, the eggs are in our modern diets. Milk is too, but depending on your makeup and your evolution and your genetic predispositions, you may have more reactions or less reactions depending on that factor. And then look at what do those chickens eat and things like that. Mm-hmm. But raw might be more tolerable. But think about it. Eggs and milk are more likely to carry disease microbes, microbial diseases, than meat is. Mm-hmm. And interesting. Okay, so I was having a little bit of Parmesan. I love Parmesan Reggiano. I'm Italian, and I
Me
love
too.
yeah, and I love Parmesan Reggiano, and I love blue cheese, and I love a little bit of cream. I do a little ice cream, and I found, and I grew up in Los Angeles. I had bowel bleeding issues. I had migraine issues. I had dyslexia, depression. I was kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, father in jail. I managed to become a doctor, a lot of hard, dedicated work. I was suffering. I found Atkins and then paleo, keto, and then carnivore 15 years ago, changed my life. But I would say the science, science is an inexact science. Someone was using the word, my friend and Kent carnivore Lee Kopis was talking about hard science. There's some science that's a hard truth and fact. And I said, there's no such thing as hard science. Which science is true and which science is untrue, that's the part that we just don't have a straight answer. It's always changing. Why can I tend to tolerate eggs and milk products better than you? Don't know. And there's silent inflammation happening in our bodies. And my friend Dave has cancer at 52. My friend Jim, cancer at 25 and dies of it also. My sister Marianne, diabetes since age 4 and dies at 52 of heart failure secondary. Why did they get those diseases and you or I did not? That's the mystery. But now my job as a doctor, a healthcare practitioner is to learn from my observations, my scientific experimentation. If I were to believe the scientific community, I'd still be sick. I'd be on a drug, another dissection, and I wouldn't be feeling like, wow, at 70, I've never felt better in my life. Almost 3 more months,
Wow.
March 12th. And
Wow.
and so eggs and dairy are digestible by most of us, but not all of us.
Mm.
But it depends on how it's produced. Is it raw? Is it cooked? Uh, and and then our genetic and environmental makeup. And by the way, microbes are used to make cheese and kefir and yogurts and many other products, but that doesn't mean they're always good for us. They could be
Mm.
harmful.
Yeah, I do miss cheese, and I'm going to give that one another shot soon. But and because I'm okay with butter.
Well, raw cheeses,
Hmm.
raw butters, I think are the way to go. But first it's your mindset. I'm healthy and well. I tolerate these things. But again, they weren't around. But humans have been making cheeses and yogurts and kefirs for a long time. But many of us have been sick generationally,
Yeah.
and yet we don't have a good answer. Well, why did they get sick and they didn't get sick? Why did my friend Dave or Jim or Marianne, my sister, get sick and yet my other friends did not? And that's the magic mystery. But the problem is, like, you feel and look healthy, but then suddenly your doctor diagnoses you with the disease. I was watching a movie yesterday about an oncology doctor, and it was a pediatric oncologist, and it was suddenly a healthy child is then diagnosed with the disease. My sister Marianne at age 4, healthy, and then suddenly she wasn't, and then was taking shots the whole rest of her life. This is the mystery of the universe.
Yeah. Another mystery, a quick one I would like you to debunk is cholesterol. We're taught that high cholesterol is bad. The people in my life who look after their health the most all seem to have high cholesterol. And I think that that's something that we're told that maybe isn't accurate, but what do you have to say about high cholesterol?
Well, you have too many muscles in your body. Does that make any sense?
Too many muscles?
Yeah. Well, I too have too high of cholesterol, and you have too many muscles, or you're too smart, um,
Mm.
or you're too strong. I mean, cholesterol is basically a precursor for vitamin D and all your sex hormones and your adrenal and your ovarian or testicular hormones. It's the building block for your body, and so it's kind of like blaming insulin for disease. How does insulin cause disease?
Glucose spiking?
Okay. Uh, how did glucose spike, or why did glucose spike?
Eating carbohydrates?
Now, is it natural and normal for humans to eat some carbohydrates or plants in their diet?
I think so.
Okay. Wouldn't insulin go up when you ate food in order to help metabolize the sugars or the amino acids you ate?
Mhm.
So why is insulin to blame for something our deadly diet caused? So go back to marketing. So money is important. We used to use seashells, and then we went to salt, and then we started using um, um, metals and making coins, and then we made paper bills that represented value, money. And so making money was transactional for reproduction and power and strength. Your dowry, is that the right term? Dowry, or when you get before you get married, you know the husband to be's family or the wife's to be family, they have a transaction, right? What are you
Okay.
going to do for me and you for us and all these things, right? So money has value in this world, and so uh, crops, food, fish, whatever it was, it became valuable to trade. And then, well, cane sugar was a highly addictive and sought after product. And so I can grow it, but I need slaves, soldiers, peasants, and prisoners in order to control it. And I can then explore the world for other plants that are exploitable, other people that are exploitable, and ways to make more money, which was controlled by whom? The kings and queens of the world, through the merchant class, and then the peasant class. And don't forget, we have to have the soldiers to carry out the rules that we make in order to make sure that I make the money, but I got to pay the money to the working class so we can all sort of keep going in this. All right. Okay. So now the sugar cartel and sugar became the largest reason for the exploration and the the propaganda that we passed around the world in agricultural lifestyle, governments of control, domesticated people. And if you feed people highly addictive food, you domesticate them,
Mm.
plants. And if you feed dogs, if you feed wolves and lions, wild cats, plants, they become dogs and cats, domesticated animals. So now, okay, they're trying to say that sugar's bad for you. They're trying to come up with a reason for disease and heart disease. Well, one camp said fat's the cause and cholesterol, and the other camp said sugar's the cause. Okay, so is fat highly addictive and everyone wants to eat it?
No.
Is sugar highly addictive and everyone wants to eat it?
Yes.
Is cocaine, heroin, caffeine, nicotine highly addictive and controlling of the world?
Yes.
Okay. So now I pay people to do either scientific experimentations or write stories and market to claim my ideas are right and yours are wrong. Now, did anyone that controlled the messaging or the marketplace care about fat? Nobody did. There's no money in fat, but there's money in sugar and alcohol and all the drugs and the lifestyle that makes human beings work as peasants, prisoners, slaves, and soldiers and line up for something that ultimately is not good for them. So, coming up with the story that fat is bad and sugar and carbohydrates are good for you and cholesterol is bad and that sugar that insulin spiking is bad, but insulin goes up when you eat food in order to convert the sugars and the proteins in the liver to fat, because if you cannot make fat, you're fertilizer fast. And an anorexic woman or man is not a pretty sight, are they? Think about concentration camps, prisoner of war camps. Think about communities that or anyone that was starving to death. Not a pretty sight, right?
Mm-mm.
But everyone's running to the gluttonous place where everyone's overeating and drinking and having a good time, right? Partying. And then we promote partying. This bud's for you. This Coke's for you. which are all basically the two most addictive products. And so it's propaganda to keep us domesticated and take away the power of understanding faith in God, and eating fatty meat creates the king and the queen within each and every one of us. Ultimately, we're here as the masters of the universe, each and every one of us. God is within us. God is an idea, the power of positive thinking. I mean, did God say you're an idiot, you're no good, and try to teach everyone that? Did Jesus Christ go around telling everyone, you guys are all sinners, you're worthless, and you don't amount to anything? Did he say that? He did not. He said, you're loving, kind, generous, you're amazing. I forgive you for everything. Let go of that stuff and see the beauty and perfection within the mirror. Mindset. But when you eat fruit, fiber, vegetables, seeds, nuts, salad, pasta, pizza, bread, and all the lean meats, we're inflaming our body. We're making alcohol, auto brewery syndrome. You're making alcohol in the gut of a child that eats a lot of plants and products from plants and protein, low, lean meat. And then we're running. I mean, I think the reason I had ADHD, OCD, depression, dyslexia, bowel problems, couldn't read, kicked out of school in a gang, is because of the diet, which was cereals and pizza and pasta and bread. I mean, I'm peasant class from Italy, essentially. But I'm also a lion and a gladiator. And I learned the power of this lifestyle. And, for me, faith, food, is fertile fitness. You don't have to go running around and saying, look at me. Humble, kind, generous, and loving. That's who we are. And do you need a drug, a doctor, dissection for that? The beauty is you're online sharing a story, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you're interviewing people. And so you're teaching us there's a story and a power in the individual. We don't need an authority to tell us and teach us. And why do they say that cholesterol is the cause of disease? Because that's how they make their money. They scare you that fat is bad, and that you need to exercise a lot. You need to eat 3 to 6 meals a day. It sells more products, makes more money. Now they want everything to go robotics and AI. I mean, is that the world we want? We're relying on a computer to answer our questions and do our work. Oh, let's save money on hiring less people. Let's do more work with less people, make more money. Does that make any sense? It doesn't to me. I mean, I do use some of this stuff. Here we are on a social media computer, but I know that I can touch more people through this medium than once, seeing 20 people in a day in my office. Mm-hmm. The power of the mind and the lion life, to me, Christ, I call Christ carnivore. And Mother Mary is ultimately the strength for all of us because she birthed that man. And it's a philosophical. You don't have to be Christian, religious. You just have to understand the power when you say, or you have someone say to you, or someone says to you, I love you. You're beautiful. You're perfect. You're amazing. We do that more. And, 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen, visualize, listen more than you speak. And I'm talking a lot. Thank you for this opportunity, by the way. I love doing it. But I'm like a little kid in a candy store that's going crazy for all the candy. But now my candy is faith and fatty foods and the fitness, which comes from just walking the walk. Did I answer that question?
I don't even remember I think it was cholesterol, but Dr.
Yeah.
Kiltz, you are
So
amazing. Uh, I mean, you came here from just doing surgery. You're getting ready to turn 70. I am still flabbergasted by that. You're Italian, most importantly. I do have,
and
go
go ahead, keep
ahead.
on. I'm fine. You can if you have some more questions. I'm
Yeah, no,
fine.
I have two closing questions for you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before I ask them, where can the listeners go to learn more about you and to I don't know if there's a way to work with you.
Well, our team, Kiltz Mighty Tribe, go to drkiltz.com. It's a good way. We're working actually to empower everyone with being a coach and a cheerleader. Be your own doctor. It's really what this is about. Own your life. We rely on information, but and I respect and honor so many people, but is it really getting us where we want to go? But go to drkiltz.com. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all this stuff. You got Amazon books you could go to. You can look at my TEDx talk. Um, I love the connection in the community. Literally, I flew from New York to London for a meetup that I was maybe there for 2 hours. And then I flew back last night. I left London at 8 p.m. I got to JFK at 11 p.m. and I got to Syracuse at 1 a.m. and I was in bed by 1 a.m. actually. And so you have a place for me to be to share and talk about this. I'll be there. And I'm doing my best to be there. And I still love operating. I always go right to what do you eat? What's your lifestyle? And do you have faith in God? Again, faith in God is in us. Faith in yourself, the power to change and grow and be better. Because this is what the universe is all about. How can we, each of us, find the joy of life in even the hardships, the challenges? Judge not, yes, lest you be judged. I like judge with love. That's what we're here to do. Judge with love.
Hmm.
I don't care what your diet or lifestyle is, judge with love. But if you're finding your physical body isn't quite as energetic as it used to be, your mental clarity isn't as great, or you're noticing some other physical ailments, look at faith, fat, fasting for a fertile life, and find joy in all the challenges and hardships that happen. Yesterday are the building blocks for your todays and tomorrows. God, as however you want to think about it, as you change your interpretation of the events that happen, you can imagine, wow, like that hardship failure led to this good thing. What if I could do that again? Failure is critical in all our lives because it's the power and passion to push you to seek new ideas and new ways and keep taking the test even though you're failing. Take a new testament and then you build your life in better ways. And it's our job not to seek love but to share and give love in kind ways always.
Amen. Yes. And God says to, he says to give praise in all circumstances.
Give praise in all circumstances. And I always ask the question, excuse me, do you believe in God? And most people say yes, or they say, well, no, but I believe in a higher power. I say, okay, that's God. And I say, well, who creates everything? And they usually say, well, God does. Well, would God make you anything that was bad for you? Well, no. Well, then you can't have good things and bad things. They must all be God's good things. But that's really hard. Well, it takes practice. That's why we read the Gospels, we journal, we create poetry, pottery, music, and you are the artist of your life.
Mhm. First closing question, and we can make these super snappy. What is your number
Snappy.
one what is your number one health tip? Whether it's mindset, diet and nutrition, physical, emotional, spiritual, just the one piece of advice you would like everyone to know.
See the beauty in all things. And that's faith. The mindset is the master. It doesn't matter if you're in a coma or you've suffered traumatic injury and you can't move. Mindset matters. The beauty, the butterfly and the diving bell. I can't remember who wrote the book, but the guy wrote a book blinking. Couldn't move, couldn't speak.
How? Morse code?
He blinked, and the person that was transcribing his blinks created the book, the butterfly and the diving bell. And so when you think you can't, you can't. When you think you can, you can. I always, there are three people in the world: those that watch, and those that complain, and those that do. We're all parts of all those things, by the way. But every day I have a dream. And then I do something for the dream. And then eventually the dream is done. It's not always exactly what the dream was, but life is dreaming, doing, and done with it. Dream, do, done. But then you keep on going. And again, you're never done as long as you keep dreaming. That's true faith and the mastery of life. But it takes practice, just like everything else. That's why I read the Gospels. I read books on positivity, love, kindness, generosity, and I practice love, gratitude, and forgiveness to all my suffering. But through suffering, we strengthen.
I love it. My last question for you is going to be more personal. You choose a number 1 through 100, and it will correlate to the question.
Ooh, 100.
If you could sum up your life philosophy in one sentence, what would it be?
I can't guarantee it's one sentence, but it might run on slightly. But you are alive, and that's the gift. And every day you live it like it's your last. And be grateful every day and every moment for all of it. And have faith in God, because God loves you always. And God is within all of us and everything. And if you see that beauty, you live the most magical life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kiltz. I love this message. I am so grateful that I get to put this out into the world and that I got to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and being a guest.
Jessica, it's my pleasure. Have we done an interview yet?
I'm going to hit record now.
Have we done an interview yet?
Oh, what do you, this is our first.
Right. Have I interviewed you yet?
Oh, no, no.
And your focus. What's your focus?
Skin, diet,
Skin.
nutrition, and skin.
Are you still recording?
I am, yeah, but
Okay. No. Keep recording. I just want to say something about skin.
Okay.
This is very important. Where do skin issues develop from?
Are you asking me?
Is it the inside or the outside?
Mm.
Is it what you put on the skin or what you put in your mouth? So are skin issues inflammatory, infective issues, or are they topical irritations? They're both, actually, but think about it. Do you know Salisbury steak guy?
I've heard you speak of him.
So Dr. Salisbury wrote a book in 1870s, 80s. He was graduated Albany Med in 1850. He went to the Civil War. His men were dying of dysentery pneumonia, gunshots, obviously, and limbs being lost, and then the infections that came from those things. But what he found is the plant-based diet they were eating, mostly mush, grains, seeds, nuts, crushed, were creating a fermentable environment in the gut. The microbes grew, they exponentially grew. And do the microbes in your gut stay in your gut? They don't. They migrate. All organisms migrate. And what they do is they crawl up the esophagus into the upper and lower respiratory systems, but they'd also go out your mouth onto your skin. Why do you think we treat a lot of acne with antibiotics? Because it's an infective disease. How about endometriosis? It's an infection caused by a plant low fat diet and the microbes that grow inside there. And so your skin, the reason fat is so critical is that when you eat fat, it suppresses the microbes in the gut. Oh, the microbes in the gut are good for you. No, they're not. They're actually the cause of disease. Do you ever notice that butter never molds?
Yeah. I never noticed,
What?
but you're right.
Okay, so why is that so powerful? Because because we don't eat fat. The single leading problem is we don't eat fat because we're afraid of fat, right? We're afraid of eating it and being it. When in fact it's the number one survival thing. And when you eat it, you suppress the microbes in the gut, in the mouth, in the esophagus, in the colon, which then diminishes the microbial contamination of your skin around your mouth, but it also around your genital areas. How many women develop hidradenosis suppurativa, which is basically these boils and pimples and acne around the rectum, anus, the vagina, and for men around the testicles and the penis? Because they're growing in the colon, in the stomach, in the small intestines. And so a low fat diet is our biggest problem. So what happens when you cook meat to the fat? It's rendered. It melts away. Most carnivores actually eat lean meat because most carnivores eat cooked meat. And most carnivores don't eat the fat. And rendered fat is not the same as raw uncooked fat. That's the secret. In a stick of butter. Why? Because it contains every building block of your body, and it's like an antimicrobial. It suppresses the microbes, which then make your skin beautiful. And again, a plant-based diet is fermentable, but it also contains photosensitizing of the skin. So people who have certain drugs go out in the sun, they get beet red. They get an inflammatory reaction. So the plants we eat, another way of controlling the herbivores is to cause the microbial growth, the toxins in the plants, but also the photosensitizing reaction that happens. So sunburns, right? Redness. Those are all secondary to the plants and the microbes and a low fat diet. So if all you did was add more fat and cook plants well and eat less frequently, you would be healthier than you were previously. And so you could put actually tallow on your skin. It's antimicrobial. You could potentially use tallow for yeast and bacterial vaginal infections. Because once again, it's the most common. Where's it happening from? The gut microbes that are being fed by our healthy diet. And do you think the scientists really sit back and listen to that and go, hey, maybe he's right? No.
The one
Thank
thing
you.
the one thing
Like,
that stands out to me there that I question is suppressing the microbes, because when I speak to women, I'm all about not suppressing, because you can't. You need to you need to let everything come out and actually heal.
I disagree. I treat women with the course of antibiotics for a month and they get pregnant. Okay, so which microbe do you want in your bloodstream or your
I'm
brain? Answer is none. Why do you think they give antibiotics to cows? Because because they eat a very high plant grain-based diet and the microbial growth. Remember, they're force feeding these animals compared to what nature told them to do, and they're trying to fatten them up. But the microbial growth in the gut is flourishing, which causes a tremendous amount of gas. They actually need to stick a tube to to drain the gas from their belly. They could die from that. Okay? So they give the antibiotics to suppress them because the microbes are proliferating and they will kill those animals and then they will cause abscesses in the liver and other places. Well, you've been told that the microbiome is very important, correct?
Yes.
How do you know that's true?
I I guess I don't, but I don't actually really talk about the microbiome too much as I do the liver.
Well, okay, so what's the liver's function?
To detox.
No, it's to make fat. The liver's job is strictly to make fat. It does a lot of other things that are important for life existence, but if you have no insulin, you will die skinny. Did you know that? The old diet for diabetics type 1 was a ketogenic diet, which basically was eating fat. So the reason is because your body runs on adipose tissue. It does not run on sugar in your bloodstream. And so a hepatogenous diabetes, and this is something that most people never understand or never talk about. When the liver is damaged so much, the liver cannot convert sugars and proteins to fat via insulin. So your insulin levels go up and your glucose levels go up and your amino acid levels go up, which causes ammonia levels go up, which causes hepatic encephalopathy. People become demented and crazy strictly because their liver cannot use insulin to convert amino acids and sugars to fat. A hepatogenous diabetic becomes a cirrhotic, becomes a cachectic, sarcopenic human being. Even though they're eating lots of food, what is the one thing we're told not to eat?
Sugar.
Fat. No, no,
Oh,
no, no,
fat.
no, 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 fat. Remember, fruits and vegetables are all made of what?
Glucose,
Sugar.
sugar.
Sugar. But remember, I don't make a lot of money on telling people to eat fat. I actually lose money. You eat more fat, you become healthier, the microbes become suppressed because the microbes in your gut, like, are microbes everywhere?
Yes.
Are they on your skin?
Yes.
Are they on your clothing?
Yes.
Are they on the books in your library or the floors and everywhere, right? They're everywhere. So, does it make any sense that we can eliminate them from any place? We can't.
Yeah.
Because even in surgical procedures where we do all the sterilization of the skin, people still get infections afterwards. Okay? So now the microbes in your gut are just another, someone thought, well, they must be important. Well, I see that these are really high and you're sick and these are really low and but what if it was the other way around, that these were low and these were high? Well, these are pathologic and these are not. And so we've said, "Oh, you need more of these and these will take these out." But in fact, our probiotics and prebiotics sold a lot in this world. They are. Are we
Mm-hmm.
getting healthier?
No.
No, we're not. Okay, so
Dr. Kiltz, I have to tell you that my computer is going to die. I've
okay, so
never
no, it
gotten.
was proper timing anyway. But we should do this again. I love this is really great. But thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation. But believe no science. Don't even believe our keto carnivore science, and don't even believe me. Question everything I say.
Oh, you're the best, Dr. Kiltz. Thank
God
you.